Hello everyone and welcome back to Coding Monk. So we completed till here in the last part. Now we are going to build this messages part in this video. Before we begin, I want to request you to please make sure to like and subscribe this video in order to support this channel. So the first thing that we are going to do in this video is to refactor our current code, because as you can see we have written lots of code in a single file and that is not ideal. So in this video, first of all, I would like to break our code into smaller and manageable pieces. If you want to skip this refactoring part, then I'm going to show you the timestamp here on this video, so you can skip to that part and find the link to the code after refactoring down in the description. Okay, so let's get started by refactoring this code. The first thing that we want to refactor is our layout. Okay, so we need to navigate into this source directory, then to the layouts folder, and inside that we have this dashboard layout. Okay, so we need to go inside that, and then you can find this index.js file. So here we have our sidebar code written inside this. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to separate this sidebar, that means all the code including this box component into a separate file. So I'm going to create a new file here, and I'll name it as sidebar. Okay, sidebar.js. Now we are going to cut this box, okay, from here. Then I'm going to comment that I need to import sidebar here. Okay, then let's create a functional component. Okay, now we need to return that JSX here. We also need to import all of the components and all the code that is needed. Okay, so we are also going to need this theme here. So let's write const theme is equal to use theme, and as I always say, this theme is going to come from material UI's styles module. So I'm going to import it right here. Import use theme from @MUI/material/styles. Okay, now let's also import this stack from material UI. Then we also need to import the icon button component from material UI. Okay, then this divider component and this gear icon from Phosphor React. Let's also import this avatar component from material UI. I'm just simply going to write it here. Okay, let's also get this nav buttons from our data. Then we just need to maintain this selected and set selected state, so let's just get it from here. Okay, so I'm going to cut this code, okay, and paste that use state here. We also need this use state from React library. Okay, and then let's also get this on toggle mode. So we need to import use settings here, which is going to come from the hooks folder that we have inside our source directory. Okay, now let's see what's causing the error. Now we also need to import the faker library and the end switch. So let's get it. Here we have our end switch component. Okay, so what I want to do, actually I want to shift it inside the components folder. So I'm going to create here another file known as end switch.js. Okay, then we'll paste this code here. Now we need this style and this switch from material UI. Okay, so let's get it. I'm going to write import style from @MUI/material/styles. Okay, and let's also get this switch component from material UI. That's it. We also need to export it from here. So I'm just going to write export default and switch. Okay, let's now import it here and switch. Let's also get the faker library. So we just need this statement in the sidebar. Now I'm just going to quickly change the order. Okay, so I'm going to keep the React at the top, then format this document. So this sidebar is already exported from here. Now you can see we have this logo here, so let's also get it. Okay, since this sidebar and index.js are at the same level, so we can just directly cut import statements from there and paste it without changing the path. Okay, Now this sidebar is ready, so let's directly use it here. Okay, so I'm just going to import that in this place. Now you can see that our code is much cleaner. Let's also remove these import statements which are not in use. Okay, I'm also going to remove this console log. Let's also remove this use theme. Okay, so now you can see we have much clean code written here. So we have a separate sidebar component, and we have also separated this AND switch into a different component. Okay, now let's also take a look at the general app component, chat, and then we have the conversation. Now inside conversation we have three parts: header, footer, and the main messages section. Okay, so from here you can see we have chat header. Okay, and then here we are going to create the messages. Okay, and then we have the chat footer. So let's also separate these three things. I'm just going to create a new file known as header.js. Okay, then I'm going to cut all of the code in this box. Okay, which is basically belonging to the chat header that we created in part 3 of the series. Then I'm also going to import that here. So let's create a functional component here, and then put the JSX that we just cut from other file in here. Then again we are going to import all of the required things here. So let me do it quickly. Okay, so now we need this theme, style badge, and this picker. Okay, so let's first get theme. So again, you know how we can access theme using this use theme hook, which is provided by material device. So I'm just going to write it very quickly here: import use theme from @MUI slash material slash styles. Okay, let's also remove this import which is not in use. Okay, now we need this style badge and also this picker first of all. So I'm just going to cut this statement and paste it here, and I'm also going to put react import at the top of this file. Okay, now there is only one thing left, and it's style badge. Now we are actually using style badge in multiple components, so I'm going to place it again inside this components folder. So I'm going to name it as style badge.js. Okay, let's now get this style component from this file. So I'm going to cut this code style badge. Okay, and put it here. Now we just need this badge component, this style. Okay, and then we just need to export it from this file. So let's first get style from material UI. Okay, now I'm also going to import this badge component from material UI. Okay, let's export it. So just going to write export default style badge. So now we have it as a separate component, and I can simply import it in this file or in any other component. Okay, so we are actually reducing the repetition of code, which is main philosophy behind React. Okay, now let's also import the chat header component that we just created here. Okay, so I'm just going to import it from the same level. So we have now separated the header. In the same way, I'm going to separate this chat footer. So let's create a file called footer.js, and let's repeat the process. We're going to cut this box which is containing all the code for rendering chat footer. Okay, let's go to the footer component, create a functional component quickly. Okay, then return the JSX. Okay, then again import all of the essential things here. Let's now also get this theme. Okay, so I'm just going to copy and paste it from other file, and also this use theme import statement. Okay, let's format this code. Now we just need this style input, and we are done. Okay, so let's get this style component also and put it here. Again, moving the react to the top. Okay, then get this text field from material UI and this style from the styles module. Okay, so now we are done with the footer as well. Let's save this file and also import the same here. So we are just going to import it from the same level. Okay, let's now also remove this code which is not in use here. Okay, so now our code looks much better, And the reason why I'm showing you how to refactor is because I want you to know how we actually do things. Okay, now let's get started by actually focusing on how to build this section today. So the first question that comes to our mind while seeing this type of UI is how we are going to actually align these messages, like this is aligned at the start, then this is at the end, and then again at the start. So for this I have prepared this illustration for you, and I'm just going to leave it just like this, so you can also refer to this by the link of the Figma which is given in the description. So let's understand what we are going to do here. As you can see, we have two types of messages mainly, outgoing and incoming messages. Now how we are going to actually place this message at the start and this at the end? So you can visualize it like this. We are going to wrap each of the message inside a stack. Why stack? Because we want it to be in a row. Okay, so we can give the prop direction equals to row, and then all of our messages will be rendered inside a row. Now for all the outgoing messages, we want them to be aligned at the end. So we are going to give this stack a property of justify content equals to end. And similarly for the incoming messages, as we want them to be aligned at the start, so we are going to give them this prop justify content equals to start. I hope this clears the concept. So now after we have cleared this, let's get on to how we are going to actually build this. So before starting to build that, I would like to show you something. We are going to navigate to this source folder, and in here you can see we have a data folder. Okay, so this was provided in the starter code. Here you can find this index.js file, and inside this index.js file we have something known as chat history. So in this chat history we have all the messages. Okay, this is just a dummy data for all the messages that we are going to display onto this component. Okay, so what are the possibilities? We can have different types of messages. Like you can see, this is a simple text message, this is an image, we can also share documents. So how we are going to handle all of this? And in between these we can also have some sort of timeline, okay, which indicates the messages like they were sent today, yesterday, or 1 week before. So let's now explore what is contained inside this chat history. One thing that you can find common between all of these is that they have a type. And what are the types? It can be either a message or it can be a divider. Okay. So in case of divider, we have provided it a text which is going to be displayed in between those two dividers. Okay. And in messages, you can see we have some message, okay, some text message, and there are also two properties which indicates whether it is an incoming message or an outgoing message. So because we are just building UI right now, so we are using this dummy data. When we will be integrating backend, then this will be coming through API calls. Now inside the messages we can also have different types of messages like text, image, document. So for that we have another property named as subtype. So you can see you have subtype image, then document, and then also link, and it can also be a reply to a message. So we have this chat history, okay, and we are going to use it to render these messages on this component. Let's now get inside this conversation file, okay, which is inside the components directory. Here you can navigate to conversation and then index.js. Now this is going to be rendered inside this box which is going to contain all of the messages. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to create another file and I'm going to label it as message.js. Okay, now again we can create a functional component here, and this is where we are going to render all of the messages and it will be displayed inside this box. So the first thing that we are going to do is to create a box, okay, and box component is going to come from material UI library. And as you can see, we have some space, okay, from all the sides. So I'm going to provide it first of all padding, which can be given by just this p. Okay, so let's give a padding of 3, right? Now inside this, as you can see, all of these are aligned vertically. So I'm going to wrap all of our messages inside a stack. and we are going to give it a direction of column which is by default. Okay, so let's also use this stack component here, and we are also going to provide some spacing between all of the things that will be wrapped inside this stack. So let's also provide a uniform spacing of 3, and here 3 means 3 multiplied by 8, that means 24 pixels, right? Now we can start by rendering our messages. So for that I'm going to write some JavaScript here. So we can use this curly bracket syntax here. Then I'm going to use this chat history from our data folder that I just showed you. Okay, then we are going to map over it to render all of our messages. So let's pick each of our message by using this element. Okay, and then inside this we are going to actually use a switch statement, because I just showed you that there are different possibilities. So first of all we are going to check the elements type. Okay, and there can be two different cases. It can be a divider or it can be a message. So the first case is divider. In this case we are going to return a specific component, and in case of message we will be returning a different type of component. Focus on returning the divider. So what I'm going to do, so here let's first keep a comment. Okay, so I'm going to write here timeline. So this will be a component that we will be rendering here. Now inside this message we again have different kinds of possibility. So here again we will be using a switch component. Okay, now in this case we are going to check the elements subtype. Okay, so let's write here element dot subtype. And now what are the possibilities? A message can be a simple text message, so we are going to handle that in the default case here. Okay, so I'm going to write here text message. Okay, then it can also be an image. So here I'll write inside this comment image. Okay, image message. Then we can also have document, link and reply. Okay, so let's also write it document, link and reply to the message. I'm also going to change it here. So let's write doc, link and reply. So you can't actually write anything else, because we have to match this exactly as in our data. Okay, so the subtype name and the type name should match exact. In this default case, okay, on the top level we are just going to return this empty fragment. Okay, so let's now actually create each of these components one by one. So for that I'm going to actually create a file, and I'm going to label it as message type. Okay, so message types.js. Here I'll start by creating different components. So the first one is going to be timeline. Okay, which will be used to display something like this. Okay, this timeline. So let's do it here. We also need to change the export, since we are going to export multiple things. So in this case it's not going to be a default export, because in one file we can only have one default export. So let me also change this to timeline. Now let's focus on how we can create this type of component in which we have two dividers. Okay, and we are going to have some text in between. So this is going to be pretty simple. We just need a stack to align things in a row. Okay, and as you all know, a stack is going to come from the Material UI library. Okay, then inside this stack we need to provide a prop of direction equals to pro, and then we also need align items to be centered. So let's write it here, and again justify content is going to be space between, because we want them to be separated just like this. Now let's start by rendering our first divider. Okay, so I have written here divider, which is again a component from Material UI, and here I'm just going to give it a width of 46%. So it's actually going to take 46% of the width. Let's now use it here. So I'm going to write timeline, which is going to be imported from message types. Save this and remove this break, and we are going to add this return. Now you can see that nothing is actually visible into this component. And why is that? Actually we haven't used this message component inside this conversation yet. So let's just import it here. Okay, message, So we have imported it from the same level. Let's save this, and now you can see that this divider is visible. Now what we actually need to do is we also need another divider. Okay, let's save this, and now you can see that there is a space in here in which we can write some text. So let's also use the typography component, which is again going to come from the material UI library. We are actually going to write some text in here, and this will be el.text. And what is this el? It's actually going to come from the props. Okay, so we have destructured it, and inside that we can find the text property, so we are just going to use that. Now we also need to write the variant. Okay, and we are going to use the caption here, and so it will take the styling as per our theme just by writing this variant here. And for the color, I also want to specify the color as per our theme. So I'll write theme dot palette dot text. This is a color that we have defined in our theme. So let's also get access to our theme here. So just going to write like this. Okay, and as you already know, we can import use theme again. We just need to change the import statement here. It's going to come from MUI material styles. Okay, let's also move this react. Now we also need to provide some prop here, so we can just provide the prop el just like this. Okay, now after this, let's save everything. Now you can see that we have actually rendered this component here nicely. After this, we are going to focus on how to render different kinds of messages. So let's first start by this text message. So again, here I'm going to create another functional component. Okay, and I'm going to name it as text message. Okay, and then just remove this export statement, and we are going to write it here. Now in the text message, you can see we need a box. Okay, and we need some text inside it. So what I'm going to do here, first of all, we are going to need a stack, because as I explained to you, we are going to align all of our messages either at the right end or at the left end. So the first thing that we need is a stack, and here I'm going to write its direction as row. Okay, because we need to align things in a row. Now here the property that is going to vary actually is justify content. The value of it is going to vary. So we are going to decide based on the prop that it's going to receive the element. Okay, so we are going to check a property on it which is incoming. If this message is actually incoming, then you can see we need to keep the justify content to start if it's incoming, and if it's outgoing, then we need it to be end. So I'm just going to write start here, otherwise its value is going to be end. Okay, now inside this we can actually use a box component to create this box and give it some color. Okay, background color and border radius. So let's also import it from the material UI library, and let's give it some padding. So I'm going to give it a padding of 1.5, that means 1.5 multiplied by 8 or 12 pixels. Okay, we also need to provide it some styling. So for that I'm going to use the SX prop provided by material UI. Let's give it some color. Okay, so for that, basically its color is going to depend upon whether it's incoming or it's outgoing. Okay, so here I'm again going to write this conditional statement here. We are going to check if the element dot incoming is true, then we need the color to be theme dot palette dot background dot default. Okay, otherwise we need the color to be primary color, and in that primary palette we need it to be main. Let's also get this theme, so I'm just going to copy and paste it here. Now let's save this. We also need some border radius, so I'm going to give it another property, border radius. Okay, and again its value is going to be 1.5, that means 12 pixel, or I can just write here 1.5 multiplied by 8, that is 12 pixels. Okay, just for your reference. We also need other property which is width, and I'm going to say that width is going to be max content. Okay. Now, after these things are properly written, let's finally render the text here. So for that, as you all know, we are going to use this typography component again. We need to write some message here. So that is going to be el.message. Okay, this property is going to contain the message. We need to provide it some variant. Okay, just for the styling as per our theme. So inside the available props values for variant, we are going to use body2. And for the color, we are actually going to again check if it's incoming. Okay, then we are going to use the color from our theme, which is theme dot palette dot text. Okay, and otherwise we are going to just use simple white color in case of the outgoing message. So let's save this. Now we are also exporting it here. Let me use this component in this place, text message. Okay, and then we need to provide it a prop, which is the element. Okay, current element. Let's save this. Now you can see that nothing is actually rendering onto the screen, and the reason is we have not written this keyword written. Okay, so without this, actually this component is not going to be returned from this function. Okay, this map function, so it will not be displayed onto the screen. So please make sure to write this return here. Let's save this, and now you can see we have these messages rendered onto our screen. Let's also, now we just need to create 4 more types of message components. So let's first get this image component. Okay, this image message actually. So again, we are going to create a functional component here. I'm going to write its name as image message, or we can also write media message. Okay, so this will also contain different types of media. Now there is going to be some common thing. Okay, so we are going to need theme here as well, and also the stack is going to remain the same. So I'm just going to copy and paste it from the below component, and let's also get this el prop. Now we also need to export this, so let's write it here. After exporting this file, we are going to use it here. Okay, so I'm going to write media message. I'm going to import it. Then don't forget to add the return keyword here in front of it. Remove this break since we are returning. Okay, now we need to create this type of component. Okay, what we are going to do actually, we are going to take a box, okay, for background. So the box is going to be pretty much the same. So I'm just going to copy and paste it from the below, and we will just change the properties that needs to be changed. So in the background color here, it's going to remain the same. The border radius will also be the same, and the width. Now inside this, we are going to use a stack. Okay, and to this stack I'm going to give a spacing of 1. And what is the purpose of this stack? Because with any image we can also send some text. Okay, so we are going to group the image and the text together in this. Now we can use the image tag from the HTML to actually render the image. So let's write source will be el.image. Okay, and the alt attribute we can just set it to el.message. Okay, whatever the message that we are actually getting, and then we can also provide it some styling using this style prop. And remember, here we cannot use sx prop because this is not a component from material UI. Okay, so we are going to use this style, which is actually applicable to all of the component that we write inside React. Now I want to provide it two properties. The first one is going to be max height. So I want its max height to be 210 pixels, and we are also going to give it a border radius. Sorry for the typo. So let's give it a border radius of 10 pixels. Okay, let's save this. We also need to provide the el prop here. Okay, otherwise it's going to throw error. So let's write it here, and now you can see that we have this nice image message as well. Okay, now there is one more thing. We also need to render the text message that is going to be sent along with the image or any type of media message. So we are again going to use this typography component here. Then just going to write the message. Okay, and after that, as you already know, we are going to give it variant, which is again going to be body2. Okay, as per our theme, and again some color. So color is also going to be the same. So let's just copy and paste it from the below component. Save it. Now you can see we also have this nice message here. Okay, so let's now see how we can actually create a reply message. We are going to return that here. So inside our message types file, I'm again going to create a React function component. Then remove this export statement. Okay, also this React. Now I'm going to write here reply message. Now again we need this stack and the box. So just going to copy and paste that here. Going to close this box and also this stack. We also need this theme here. Now let's also get the element, okay, by destructuring it from the props. Now we are going to actually render two things, one above the other, just like the WhatsApp. Okay, the original message and below that the reply. So what we are going to do, we are going to use a stack here, which is again going to come from the material UI. Okay, and then we are going to give it a spacing of 2, and the direction by default is column, so the things will be aligned vertically with whatever is inside this. Okay, so to render the original message, we are also going to need another stack. Okay, so we are going to give it some padding. Okay, let's say 2, that means 2 times 8 or 16 pixel. Let's also give it a direction of column. Okay, and then the spacing of 3, that means 8 times 3 or 24 pixels. Let's also give it align items center. Okay, so these are just the property that we need to define, so you can just follow along with me. Background color, and it's going to be again theme.palette.background, and inside the background we are going to choose the paper color. Let's also give some border radius. Okay, so we are just creating component just like we see in WhatsApp. Okay, in the reply there is a box, and inside that we have our message. Okay, so I'm going to write el dot message here. So let's see what we have created, okay, by rendering it onto the screen. So first of all, I'm going to export this reply message. Let's write it here. Then we are going to come inside our message component and then write a return statement here and use this reply message. Let's also import it, okay, from the neighbor file. Let's remove this break since we are returning from this function at this point, and also pass the element here. As you can see, we have got this reply message here and it's looking pretty good. The only thing that is not correct here is that we haven't provided any styling to this text. So that can be actually provided by just writing the variant. So it will take the styling as per our theme. Okay, so what I'm going to do, we can just use a typography component here. Okay, instead of just writing message like this, we can use a typography component and we can put this inside this typography and provided a variant. Value is equal to, is going to be body2. Okay, and again some color, so it's again going to be from our theme. So let's write theme.palette.text. Now it's looking good. We also need to, this is the original message, we also need to render the reply to this message. So let's also get this done. So after this, I'm going to again use a typography component. Okay, and the variant and color is going to be pretty much the same. Only difference is that on the basis of whether it's incoming or outgoing, we are going to just change the color. Okay, so if it's incoming, then the color will be theme.palette.text. Otherwise the color is going to be constant white. Okay, so let's write it like this, and here we can write this reply message. Okay, inside this typography, let's format it, save it, and see what we get. And this is actually just what we want. Now let's move on to the next message type, and that is the link message. So let's also create this. Again same thing, create functional component. We are going to say this is a link message. So whenever we share some link, whether it can be of anything like a drive, Excel, or Figma, okay, so we want to show a preview of the link and also the link, and along with that there is also some text, like whenever you share any website link onto WhatsApp, then it displays the title of the website. So we are going to just make a component like that. So the first thing again is going to be the same box and stack, and since we are using this again and again, we are going to convert this into a higher order function, and all of our messages will be wrapped inside this common component. Okay, so we are going to do it later. Again, get the element from prop and the theme. We are also going to put it inside this export statement. Okay, let's also get this here. So I'm going to write return and then link message provided the element prop, also get it imported here. Let's save all these files. Now we can start actually building the link component. So the first thing is we need a stack, and we are just not going to provide any direction because we want the default direction, which is the column, because we want to align few things in vertical direction. And again, there will be a need for another stack. Okay, and here we are going to give some padding. So let's just build it with me because I haven't drawn it in this Figma design, so I just have to show you by coding this. Okay, so the next property is going to be, we are going to give it some spacing of 3. Okay, that means 24 pixels. Let me correct it. And then a property of align items, it's going to be center. Okay, so after you see the UI, you will be able to see why I'm writing this. Okay, then again some background color and border radius. So the background color is just going to be the paper color, so let me get it from here. So background color is going to be theme.palette.background.paper. Okay, and border radius is going to be 1, and that means 8 pixels. Okay, 1 times 8, that means 8 pixels. Now we can render the preview. Okay, so let me render an image component here. Let me give it some source, and inside this element we are going to get a preview property, so we are going to use that. Okay, just like this. Also provided an alt attribute, so this is going to be the message. Okay, that will be given alongside link, and we also need to provide it some styling just like in the other case when we rendered the image, and that is again going to be max height, which we will set it to 210, and the border radius is going to be 10 pixels. Let's see what we get, and this is the UI that we are currently getting. Okay, and don't worry about this height, we are going to fix that. Okay, so let's move on. Now besides this image, I'm also going to write another stack, and we also want this stack to align few things vertically: the title of the link and also the link, the URL of the link. Okay, so I'm just going to give it some spacing, so let's give it a spacing of 2, and then for the title of the link I'm going to write a typography component here. Okay, and let's just, I'm going to hard code it for now. Okay, so like creating chat app, and let's also give it some variant to style it. Okay, to give it some styling from our theme, so I'm going to give it variant of subtitle 2. Okay, let's see, and we get this. Now let's also render the link. Okay, so for that I'm just going to again use this typography component. Okay, variant is going to be the same. Now let's write some URL, so www.youtube.com. okay, like this, and we actually need to style it a little bit differently, so I'm going to give it a prop which is called component. Okay, so we can give it to all of the typography component. Okay, in material UI component is can accept link. Okay, as a valid value. So link is again a component from material UI, and by writing this it's just going to behave like a link. Okay, let me show it to you. So after we save this, you can see we get this link. Okay, and it's clickable. Now we need to change its styling just a little bit, so I'm going to give it a color from our theme, and that will be theme dot palette dot primary dot main. Okay, along with that we also need to tell it where we want this link to navigate. Okay, so you can pass something in this too, and I'm going to pass an absolute URL, so that's why I'm using this double slash in front of the URL. So I want this link to redirect user to YouTube. Okay, so I'm just going to write this URL https://www.youtube.com. Let's save this, and now you can see we have this. Okay, let's also render the message that will be sent along with the link. So for that we need to come out of this stack, okay, and then use another typography component here, and inside this I'm going to actually write the message, okay, just like this el.message. Then we can give a variant body2, okay, to maintain the uniformity across all the messages. We are giving the variant body2. For the color I'm going to again use this property. If it's incoming message, then I'm going to use the color theme.palette.text, otherwise it will be white color, and I'm doing this as per our design. Okay, so there is no magic in it, I'm just doing all of this as per our design. Now there is one thing, we need to align all of this at the start. Okay, so let me do it here, and now it looks much better. Okay, so let's also try switching to dark theme, and yeah, it's good. Okay, there is one more thing that we can do. We can use this background color for all of this conversation actually. So to change the background color, because this is actually plain white, and that's why we are not able to see the background color here. So for that I'm going to just change the color in this general app. Okay, so we need to navigate to the general app, which is inside this pages and then dashboard, and inside this general app. So here you can see this is the background color. This is actually the box which is containing all of this. So I'm just going to change this white color to this another color, okay, which is slightly darker than white. And now you can see there is a clear difference, and those messages are now much more clear. Okay, even in light mode and also in dark mode. Now there is just one last message type that is left, and it's document message. Okay, so whenever we share some type of document like a PDF or an Excel file, then we want to display a different kind of message in which there will be a preview and there will be a title, and along with that there will be a message. Let's now deal with this problem of height. So we actually want the scroll effect to take place when the content is actually bigger than the screen's height. Now this is the conversation component is the one which is responsible to display this box along with all of these messages and this timeline. Okay, so we need to make some changes to this. So what we are going to do, we are going to provide it two properties. The first one is going to be height. Okay, so the height is going to be 100%. Okay, so this 100% will be with respect to 100 VH. Now we also need to provide one more property, and that is going to be overflow. So we want our content to flow in the y direction if it's bigger than the screen's height. So we are going to provide this property overflow by scroll. Let's now see, and now we have this nice scrolling effect, and it's so cool. Now there is one last thing that we need to do in this part, and that is to display also a message with document type. Okay, that means we are missing this doc type message. So let's create it quickly in this message types. Okay, so I'm going to write here doc message. So this will be actually representing all of the messages in which we share some kind of file. Okay, so again, as you know, we are going to return some amount of JSX. This is the common part among all of the messages, and later on we are going to actually convert it into a higher order component which will be wrapping all of the messages. Okay, so also we need this theme, okay, here, and now we can start writing our document component here. So the first thing that we need again is a stack. Okay, and we are not going to give it any direction, so it will be the default direction, which is column, so things will be aligned vertically. We just need to provide it this spacing prop. Okay, so we want a spacing of 2, that means 2 times 8 or 16 pixels. Then again, the thing that we are going to render is also going to contain multiple things which needs to be aligned in a row. So the first thing that I'm going to do here, I'm going to provide a padding of 2 and a direction of row. Okay, and there is going to be a spacing of 3. Let's also write align item center, and then again the color. So it's going to be exactly these properties. The background color is going to be our paper color from the background inside palette, and the border radius is going to be 1. So here we are going to actually display something like this. Whenever we share a document, we are going to show its preview. So there will be an icon here, then the name of the file, and then there will be a download button, and below that we will also show a message. So that's why we are using this stack to align these three things in a row. Okay. So first of all, I'm going to actually render an icon here. So let's render image icon, which is going to again come from Phosphor React library. So we have imported it at the top of our file. Okay, you can see this image is coming from Phosphor React. Now after this, we also need to provide some size to this icon, okay, to meet our demands. So let's give it a size of 48. I'm going to save it. Let's also export this doc message and use it in our file, okay, messages, and see what we get on our screen. So let's use it here. Now we are also going to give this element prop to it and return it from here. So we can remove this break now since we are returning. Let's save this, and now you can see this image icon. So it's coming up nicely. Let's keep building. So after this image, as you can see in our design, we need to render the file's name. So I'm going to use the typography component, okay, which is obvious here. So let's write typography, and inside this I'm just going to write abstract.png for now. Okay, let's say this is the name of the file that we are sharing, and for styling, as per our theme, I'm going to give this variant of caption. And for the download button, I am going to use icon button, which will make the icon clickable. Okay, so this icon button is going to come from Material UI library. Okay, and then let's render download icon. For that, we are going to use this download simple icon, which is available inside the Phosphor React library. Okay, Phosphor React is the icon library that we are using for this project. Now you can see there is some error. It's saying download simple is not defined in messages type, line number 34. Let's see if that is the case. We just need to save this file. Okay, it was actually some delay in importing here. Okay, so now you can see we have this as per our design, but now we also want a message to be displayed. Okay, so for that I'm going to come out of this stack. Okay, and here I can write a typography component. Okay, inside this I'm going to render our message. So here I will write el.message. Okay, and this is going to do the job for us. And again, there is one more thing that we need to do. We need to provide some variant, okay, and also some color to it. So what we are going to do, that I have copied that from the below component. Now we are going to change the variant from subtitle to body here. Okay, and for the color, we are actually going to give a condition here. We are going to check if the message is incoming, then we want to display theme.palette.text color. Okay, we want to use this color actually. Otherwise, if it's not incoming, then we want to use white color. Let's save this, and now you can see we also have this message. So this is it, guys. In this video, we learned how we can refactor our app, and also how to display different kinds of messages, and also how to build this kind of UI in which incoming and outgoing messages are displayed properly along with timelines. So I hope you enjoyed watching this video, and if you find this video informative, then please make sure to like this video, leave a comment. You can also tell me what you liked most about this video, and please make sure to subscribe to this channel, as it's going to support me to build more content for you. Thank you guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.